Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Firestone. This is Theatre Talk, and I'm very privileged to have as my guest today Rick Kirby, who is the producing artistic director at the Manatee Players, big complex in Manatee here that I'm very, very impressed by. Welcome and happy to see you.
Very nice to be here. Thank you, Paul.
Well, thank you. I wanted to find out more about you because I visited your plant, the lovely, lovely theater, the lovely grounds, and saw the possibilities of really some spectacular theater. Tell me something about yourself. How long have you been in this area?
I moved here 11 years ago. I was actually vacationing in the area. I was working in New York for the USO, and we had gone through a lot of deployments and 9/11 and was feeling pretty beat up. And came to visit a friend who I'd worked with on cruise ships and loved the area. And I said, how lucky you are to live in paradise, and found out about a job down the street, and I applied, and here I am.
And so you're in paradise now for about 10 or 11 years.
Right.
That's wonderful. Your talents then were developed before you came here, because I understand you've really been quite an outstanding dancer as well as director. When you were on a cruise ship, tell me about your responsibilities there.
Well, I was one of the performers on board. I also was the company manager, meaning I took care of our travel arrangements, and I was the dance captain for that group. I eventually became the assistant to the choreographer and director, so I would also put groups together and take them out on board for a while. So I kind of worked my way up the ladder there.
I see. Well, you remind me, when I looked at your body when you walked in here, you looked like Gene Kelly. So I said, my goodness, this guy has dance, I guess, from the very beginning of your life, I guess you were interested in.
Well, it kind of came to me later than most, I think. I didn't have a lot of opportunities. I grew up in rural Kentucky, and we just didn't have that as an opportunity. So I...
well, you did hoedowns there.
Yeah, we did some clogging and that kind of thing. I actually auditioned for a college and found out that one of the requirements was to go through a dance audition, and I'd never danced before in my life, so I called up the only dance teacher in our hometown, and her name was Erla True Robbins, and I danced in her basement where I couldn't lift my arms up. And she taught me privately. I told her you can't tell anybody, but when I got to college, I got one of the leads in the role, and a wonderful teacher who said, you have no idea that you're a dancer. You're going to take these classes, and you're going to learn how.
So you were natural, actually, then?
I think I was lucky that I was naturally coordinated.
Yes.
I studied a lot of karate. I think that gave me the flexibility and the coordination. So I kind of...
Are you a runner as well?
No, I never really was a runner. I did a lot of... I was very musically inclined when I was younger. So I come from a musical family, and that was kind of our background. And I was focused on vocal. I was a vocal major in college, but dance kind of came secondary.
What was your father's business?
My father is a civilian who worked for the Army,
I see.
and my mother was she was a seamstress and worked in a factory her entire life. Yeah.
Well, you've really moved into the arts.
Yes.
And it's just wonderful to know that you have the talent and the drive and the creative genius that you bring to Manatee, because, of course, your accent there is many, 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 many musicals. In fact, you're coming up right now with The Best Little Whorehouse, is that right?
That's right.
When does that open?
Well, we're opening up day after tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, our first preview is actually this evening, so we're up and running.
Oh, wow. Then I'm very pleased, really appreciative that you came here today to see me and talk with me. And I hope that the audiences that are hearing us will take note of the wonderful opportunity they will have to see you now, or your work, rather. You directed this.
I did. I don't direct all the shows. I do about 4 shows per year. It's just impossible. We do 8 main stage musicals. We do 2 children's productions, fully staged musicals, plus a second stage. We have 2 theaters in the Manatee Performing Arts Center. So that second space has 6 shows that we do there as well. And that doesn't even include our outside productions that come in, the concerts, the rentals. So there's always something going on there.
They're very exciting. I visited your theater, as I said, and I was very impressed with the stages. The intimacy of, say, that smaller stage allows for really some interesting experimental drama as well as, say, dramas that might be on the boards in Broadway. And your large theater, it has great, it's a great experience there to hear the voices that echo and re-echo beautifully from that stage. When you start thinking about a season, what prompts your direction? What is the overall view of your intent when you select plays?
It's very difficult. Okay, I start with looking at what our patrons want to see.
I see. Well, how do you know that?
Well, there's a history there. We can always go back and look at our ticket sales, what was popular, what sold, what didn't. So we're lucky that we can pull those records and look back at our history. It's very clear to us that our patrons love musicals. And when I first got here, we actually did a variety. We did some straight plays, some musicals, and we just didn't sell the straight plays. So I'm listening to what they want to hear and what they want to see. So we went to 8 full musicals on our main stage. Now that meant that we were kind of locking some people out who loved those straight plays. It also meant some actors weren't getting the opportunities they should have, which is why I was so excited about opening the second space. So that's where we put them in the smaller stage now, and that way we can serve both.
That's wonderful. Now, the smaller space, what kind of plays have you ever done there that you directed?
Well, remember, we've only been up and running for over a year right now. So far, I haven't directed in the small space. I've only directed in the main space.
That is, you did have a smaller and older theater. I visited that too when I first tried to find you. And I did go inside, and I saw that there was a rehearsal going on in there. Tell me about that earlier Manatee Theater.
Well, it was actually built for the Manatee Players. We've been around for 65 years, so actually 68th is our season this year. So we actually started off in the Bradenton Women's Club as part of an offshoot way back in the 40s when there was sort of a movement for smaller theaters. Right after the World War II, it kind of became very chic to start a community theater. So that's how we were birthed through there, and eventually the community decided that we needed our own space. So they built the space on Old Main Street, right there on Baccarata. Beautiful space looking at the water. We were there successfully for over 50-some years, but the problem was that we outgrew it. We just didn't fit in that little stage anymore.
Now, are you by subscription, or is that your major income area?
We do have subscribers. We probably about 70% of our tickets our funding is from ticket sales. The other 30% comes from donors, from sponsors, from producerships. So that's pretty high for most nonprofits.
That's true. That is high, but it of course tells the appreciation and respect for the kind of thing you're doing, which is really wonderful. That is, here you are giving musicals to people who could very easily go to the TV and look at the WVD has all these musicals on it.
Yeah, well, there's nothing like live theater. Like experiencing why it's happening live, there's just no other experience in the world.
And especially if you have good actors. Tell me about your source.
Well, we're all local, and we are 100% volunteer. And I have to say, I came to this area as a New York snob, and I had no experience with community theater, and my expectations were so low, I thought I was going to be caught in a never-ending
You didn't think you'd find more naturals like yourself. You didn't think there were any naturals like you.
Well, I have completely eaten my words, because this area is just so rich and talented and wonderfully motivated people, and the fact that they come and want to spend their time and donate their efforts and talents to us makes me feel very privileged.
Well, it's quid pro quo. You're giving them something that they need and that they really want, so that the opportunity to play under the aegis of a good director, and in the kind of house you present. The theater itself is magnificent. I was impressed with the lobby, just the entry alone. It's true I had great difficulty maneuvering myself to find the place, but that's because I had never been in Manatee earlier. And but once I saw the edifice and the whole environment, I said, this is really like Lincoln Center.
Well, that's a wonderful comparison. Wow. We decided that we wanted to make this a space that was for the entire community. Yes, it's the home of the Manatee Players, but it's not just for the Manatee Players. So that huge lobby.
There are art museums there, aren't there?
There is the South Florida Museum is right next to us, as well as Art Center Manatee. So we're kind of becoming a little arts district down there, sure. But other arts organizations use our building. We have had the ballet there, Sarasota Ballet. We've had the Sarasota Circus. We've had Sarasota Opera. So it's not just about the Manatee Players. It's a facility for everyone.
What a wonderful experience for the population here in Manatee that you have these offerings. Just wonderful. I'm very impressed. I was impressed with your second floor too, where you had this great open space that could be I don't know what it could be. Could be anything. Could be a circus because it's so huge and cavernous, and it's beautifully made, and it's divided. Is it not? It's divisible.
Well, it's a multi-use room. So yes, it does have a divider which has mirrors on both sides of that divider. And the purpose for that is that it can become a rehearsal space, so we can have two things going on at the same time. It's also our classroom space. We do after-school programming for kids. So at the end of all of that, we can push that wall away. It becomes one big grand ballroom, which connects to a beautiful kitchen. When it's not a catering kitchen, it is a commercial kitchen. So we can do weddings, we just had our gala there, a lot of private events.
Wonderful.
We have the Kiwanis Club that meets there every week, and they were very kind to us to help us get our building open. So it's a building for the entire community.
And you mentioned education, which of course is my special interest. What kind of contacts do you have with the schools in this area?
Well, we borrow a lot of their talent, that's for sure. A lot of their students, especially Manatee School for the Arts, Booker High School, that have the arts magnet schools. A lot of their students come to us, and we're another outlet for them. Hopefully they learn a little bit from us, and we get to use their talents on our stage. Also, even the teachers who teach at those schools, a lot of them are our choreographers, our guest directors, our technical, our backstage help. So yeah, we have a wonderful relationship, and I hope to build on that.
Well, that's wonderful indeed that you have the support and cooperation of the community. But of course, your value is that you bring something that is of value to the development of young people. And I would say that when you think about theater audiences today, most of them are gray-haired people, and coming in there with canes and wheelchairs. Now, if we can introduce young people to the theater and get them excited to become early on the subscribers and active, then becoming patrons too, of course, as they grow older and wiser and probably more affluent.
Well, I've seen that happen. I mean, I've been here for over 10 years, and it's amazing to think back at the kids that were in the first shows that I did who were playing, 8-year-olds who are now in college, and they're going on into professional careers, or they're now coming back with families. I think we are becoming a part of their history and a part of what that they kind of bring the next generation to us.
Right. Well, tell me, what do you think the value of theater is in the development of a person?
Well, I think it's invaluable. I mean, yes, we have those success stories where some of our kids have gone on to Juilliard and to professional.
Well, I'm not talking actually about the profession
exactly.
itself.
The people that kind of get lost in the shuffle are the ones who, the banker who has that experience in public speaking, isn't afraid to get in front of a crowd anymore. We have some parents who have some kids who are in their summer programs that are youth-based programs, who come and thank us because their kid wasn't fitting in anywhere, but yet now they have this community of like-minded kids who love the arts, so they found their little clique. And so there's so many ways that we can kind of become a part of building that person.
That's marvelous. And then you not only build friendships, but you build patrons and support all the way through. That's excellent. Now, when you say you have a large community room on your second floor that has a kitchen and all and is okay for weddings, how many weddings do you have?
Actually, we've become a wedding destination somehow.
Really?
Yeah, we have had actually Indian weddings in particular, which are these wonderful, week-long celebrations. So they don't only come for one day; they're there for several days. And buses come and they come in upstairs, and they'll go for ceremony downstairs. So the building lends itself wonderfully for that.
That's marvelous. Of course, that'd be something to film or to see it in itself. Something
It's beautiful,
spectacular.
yeah, absolutely. And the decorations and,
And
the
the
smells
costume.
and it's wonderful.
Yes, they bring in lots of aromas, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, of course, the exciting thing about having a theater like yours close by to within that institutional area of arts means that the young people will think about lives that are more constructive and more artistic, and that we get away a little bit from the idea of money, 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 money. And of course, I'm a psychoanalyst, and therefore the theater is to me an experience of living that takes place on the stage. In the musical, of course, we do have sad and joyous moments, and they are all, of course, calibrated with the orchestra and the entire ensemble. I didn't see a place where your orchestra was, though. Where does your orchestra play?
We actually have a very large orchestra pit, and you probably couldn't see it that day because we often will cover that pit up and becomes an extension of the stage. So I think the day that you took your tour, it was actually not covered. But it is 16 feet deep. It could hold easily 40 musicians.
Wow.
We'll never be able to afford 40 musicians, but if we ever do want to do that, we have the space for them.
So you could even be an area where the symphony orchestras could come.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's marvelous. Well, you've had a very broad, bold vision of what you want in a theater. Did you have much to do with the construction and the development of this particular plant?
I think I took this job at the perfect moment because there had been a lot of talk for a long time about building a new theater, and when I got here, we had some wonderful momentum and a donor who stepped forward. So I got to sit with the architect, John Toppy, and his first thing was dream big. You may not get it, but give a wish list and we'll see what we can do. And I have to say, all of those things that I wanted in the building are there today. So.
And your architect was a citizen of this area?
He actually is out of St. Petersburg. He used to work for Harvard Jolly, and he kind of started his own architectural firm with us. We were his first client that separated. But he had a great vision, and we thought that experience with theaters was very important. We didn't want someone who never had designed a theater before. He had done a lot of work with Straz Center, with Largo Cultural Arts Center, so he knew theaters and how they work, which I worked in many theaters myself that had not had that architectural eye before, and many problems that you just had to live with in those spaces. So I think we avoided a lot of those. Tell
me something. How do you think the theater has affected your life in developing into the kind of person you are?
Well, I really can't imagine doing anything else. I feel like it's been such a part of my life since I was very, very young that it kind of defined me. And I certainly would probably be living back in Kentucky, being a farmer. Who knows what it would be if I didn't have that to pull me out of myself in that area. And not that there was anything wrong with being a farmer, but I just can't see myself being suited and
well, ambition is very important.
Yes.
And you do have ambition, and a creative one at that. Tell me, what roles that you've played do you think are ones that contributed mostly to your development?
Well, I used to call myself the singing cowboy because I think because I came from New York and had that kind of, I came from Kentucky to New York and still had that kind of, that hillbilly side of me still, I think.
Well, you have a very beautiful sound in your voice. It is a bluegrass.
Well, I think that got me jobs as, one of the first jobs I got was as a cowboy in Oklahoma, and then I became a cowboy in Best Little House in Texas, then I became a cowboy in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, so I was like the professional cowboy for a while, and I did a lot of the touring companies for that, so it kind of was my stepping stone to get me to New York.
That's wonderful. Well, the wonderful and exciting history, and of course the transference from, say, Kentucky to Broadway is really an amazing kind of jump for you, and totally different view of life. Right. Now, have you done any writing at all? Are you doing any creative work yourself?
Well, I work with a group at the theater called, we call them Dramature. They're our senior theater troupe. We don't like calling ourselves senior, so we put the words drama and mature together, and that's, so we're now the Dramature troupe.
So you're teaching them how to write plays?
Well, they do a lot of their own plays, and we develop short plays that we can do in a short time span. We do a lot of outreach into the community, so they'll go to assisted living or to civic different meetings, luncheons, and they'll perform those skits. So we do that, and I'm actually, another part of that we do is improvisation, and I think that that's something that has been tapped into, improvisation with a more senior company. So I'm actually doing a little how-to book that I'm actually writing right now, and have someone who's willing to publish that when it's ready to go.
Can you tell me the theme of it?
It's how to work with seniors in improvisational comedy.
That is, improvisation, so far as I'm concerned, is really the basis for any kind of interaction that's dramatic. It begins with conflict, and I have been myself dramaturge to professional theater companies in New York, and have helped people in the construction of their plays, and what you're saying is really tantamount to the kind of thing I've done, and if you have the interest here and the creative drive in people to follow the road that you're presenting, I would say that you're going to have a lot of creative and happy people, because that is, improvisation is almost like therapy. And once one faces who one is and dramatically understands how one came to be here now, that we have a really good hold on maturity.
Well, exactly. Our mature actors have so much history and life to draw on. I think it becomes a simple step and a logical step for them to use that in creating drama.
That's wonderful. And you have a very fine staff. I looked at the people who comprise your entire work. There, you have PR, and you have costumers, and you have box office. Are these all volunteers, or are they?
We have a staff who are paid of about 15. And they work very, very hard. We live for our volunteers, though. We have hundreds and hundreds of volunteers who help us in the box office. They help backstage with building the sets, the costumes, the props. They run the shows for us. Our front of house people who take the tickets, who usher you to your seat, they're all volunteer. So we would not exist without those people.
I see. Then you do have a large budget, nevertheless.
We do. We're right at $2 million annual budget, which is much larger than when we started, much larger.
I see. Then you really do need the aid of the community that can afford to gift you some funds.
Absolutely. I mean, our community has been so generous to us. I mean, just the fact that we could build this building has been a phenomenal feat. And the fact that they're still there supporting us, I can only feel grateful.
It's a wonderful building, and it's in a beautiful location. I was impressed, too, that you have plenty of grounds there for parking, and a parking garage that's close by, is it?
We have several options for parking. It's kind of an ongoing project for us, to tell you the truth. We do have parking that is to the east side of the building, on the other side of the train tracks. There's also a parking garage that's a little bit of a distance away. There is some parking around our building, But we have purchased trams so that we do shuttle people. So if you have some mobility issues, we will pick you up in the tram and take you back to your car after the show.
Tremendous consideration for your public.
Well, we try to listen to our patrons. We want the experience to be the best we can make it. So we knew that parking was an issue, and we're trying to fix it.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm very impressed with all these things, and especially with your list of musicals this season. There were, what, 6 of them?
We do 8 on the main stage per season.
8? Wow.
8. Yeah.
Give me a list briefly of just the names.
Brigadoon, we try to do some of the standard ones
Right.
that our patrons love. We're doing Into the Woods, Spamalot, Jesus Christ Superstar. Whorehouse is playing right now. Meet Me in St. Louis follows that. So that's the remainder of our season in the main stage.
That's wonderful. Now, the a small stage there, is there a library or a list of plays that are going to be done, or is that just open for rental?
No, we do 6 plays in the smaller space. Godspell is ready to open in a couple of weeks, so they'll be playing in there. We just closed mornings at 7.
That's a wonderful play for older people.
Exactly. It was a wonderful opportunity for our more mature actors. We're doing Amal and the Night Visitor in there. Agnes of God follows that. So it's very varied, and trying to do a lot of opportunities for our actors as well as some fun things for our patrons.
That's wonderful. Well, you're making a wonderful contribution to this community via your community theater, and it's been a great pleasure talking with you. Rick, you are truly a credit to this area, and I'm sure they appreciate what you've developed here. I've enjoyed talking with you, and I want to thank everyone for listening to this conversation that I've been having with Rick Kirby. Rick is, as I said, the artistic director and producer at Manatee. It's a wonderful experience to visit and go to that theater, and I'm sure that you'll have a great living, vital remembrance of the plays that are forthcoming. I'm looking forward to reviewing the plays, and opening night is just Thursday. So it's exciting to think that I'm going to be evaluating your work, and I'm sure I'm going to be delighted, as will all the people who come to see it. I want to thank you again for being here on Theater Talk. I'm Paul Firestone. Thank you very much for listening.